I think we're going to call the meeting to order of the Fargo Human Relations Commission on October 18th at slightly after noon. I would welcome everybody here. Particularly make a point of welcoming Kara. Good to see you back.
Thanks.
And we'll do introductions. I'm Barry Nelson, Chair of Fargo Human Relations Commission.
Dave Lamfer.
Cheryl Schafel.
Paul Jensen.
And let's-
Miranda Wolf, City of Fargo Planning.
Tia Brasa, City of Fargo Planning.
Kara Glow, City of Fargo Planning.
John Strand, liaison from the City Commission.
Rachel Hoffman.
And just in time to check in.
It's Matur Alier.
Thank you very much. So we have the agenda and minutes from the last meeting in front of us, which last meeting would be actually 2 months ago since we didn't hold a meeting in September. Could I get an approval of the agenda and minutes?
I will motion to approve.
Rachel, thank you.
Second.
Dave seconds. Any questions, additions? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you. We have our program with us this noon. Community Trust Officers Dave Carlson and Dave Carlson. Yes.
Actually, my name is Kevin Pallas. I'm one of the supervisors of the department. I supervise our community trust officers along with our school resource officers.
Great.
David Carlson was not able to be here today, so Community Trust Officer Michael Bloom is here today to present to you.
Michael.
Yes.
Thank you. Thanks for filling in.
Yes.
Yeah, please join us at the table. You both could join us, certainly. We're not.
Yeah, we're first timers, so
Yeah.
we
Well,
didn't,
welcome.
we didn't know. Yeah.
You're going to have so much fun here. You'll want to come every month.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I can guarantee it. So thank you, Michael, for joining us this noon, and we would look forward to hearing about the kind of service that you provide to our community.
Sure, wonderful, wonderful. You just let me know when you want me to go. Is this that time?
This is the time.
All right, all right. Do you prefer I use this microphone, or do you want me to stand up and move, or what's
No,
the best?
if you'd use the microphone, that we're being videoed for future reference. So
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Well, let's roll. I have a PowerPoint. Don't feel like you have to watch every slide, but I just have it as a reference. So, but first off, I would like to thank Sergeant Pallas for being here with me. He's my leader, my supervisor, and does a great job for our program. And it is always fun to come and see what the city is doing. Seeing Commissioner Strand here, the Fargo planning team. You guys are great. We just met with you, and so it's an honor to be here talking to you today. Just to be real with you, to be blunt with you, we are the Community Trust Officer team of Fargo. It's myself, Officer Matthew Niemeyer, David Carlson, and Officer Vincent Kempf. And our passion is to reach people. That's what we do. There's no great way to do it, I guess. There's no bad way to do it. There's just, you find people, find their need, and find out how to help meet their need, also while working with them to see what are their interests, what are their goals, and what drives them and pushes them in life. And so we seek to meet the needs of youth the majority of the time, no matter how big or small the need might be. When we got in this, everyone wanted to ask us about data, especially with grants. Really, we just wanted to go to kids who were on mainly free and reduced lunch programs. We also wanted to reach youth that were in public housing, and really just try to connect kids to mentors, connect kids to athletics and after-school programs, connect kids with a future. Because if you don't really have a focus on anything, it's hard to understand what your future looks like. And so we wanted to passionately help kids pursue a focus, a goal, whatever their interest was. And what was funny about that was every kid is so unique that one of the biggest questions I get asked a lot is, so how do you judge your progress? And it's like, well, it's funny, we have I'll use one boy in as example who has never lived with his biological father. He's living in poverty. His mom's using drugs and selling drugs. She's in and out of relationships. So how do we judge progress? You can't, because the next kid is in just as bad of a situation, but maybe he has two parents, but one keeps getting locked up, or one is severely mentally ill, or one, you just can't. So every kid is case by case. And we just work with them slowly and patiently and love on them and encourage them and try to connect them with goals, mentors, and leaders in our community. So we believe youth focused on achieving a goal are far less likely to get involved in illegal activity. Youth in our programs would be more likely to become proactive citizens and adults. Last year, we had a kid, a young man, that went to Jefferson Elementary School. I get a phone call from my sergeant while I'm at a wedding in Barnesville, just having a nice evening. And he goes, "Bloom." I say, "Yes." He goes, "I got one of your boys, and they just committed a robbery. They took an airsoft gun and pointed at a kid's face and took his bike and so we have all your kids locked up." So I'm like, "Oh, that's fantastic, good." So that ruined my night because we become passionate about these kids and the progress they make. We partnered with FM Athletics Football for this young man. He loved football. FM Athletics gave him a scholarship. The coach began to mentor him and pick him up and take him to every game and practice. This last year, he moved to Glendon, so I was like, "Oh no, we're going to lose contact, we're going to lose connection." The coach from last year reaches out to me this year and wants to sponsor him and pay for his FM Athletics sponsorship again. Then the city of Glendon rallies around him and starts supporting his mom and wanted to help buy her a car. So all of a sudden, the last year and a half, we haven't really had a bad report on this kid, and he's been staying in school, and he played football this year again for FM Athletics. So the goal there was progress, goal, vision, and he's a heck of a football player. So he's a little beast, man. He just rocks people. He's strong. He likes wrestling, too. We took him to Fargo South to wrestle and do freestyle wrestling. So that's what we do. We just try to find kids. They're not bad kids. They're just, there's no one to really teach them direction sometimes. They have good parents, but maybe the parent is broken down with work, and they're working all the time. So we just try to step in and help fill gaps and encourage parents, encourage kids, and help them grow. Our current programs that we do, the Fargo Police Department, we have a summer camp. That has been running for 3 years. It's for elementary age students. I wish Officer Niemeyer was here because he has done a fantastic job with that summer camp. He tries to take STEM out of it. He tries to take curriculum out of it from schools and really work on social and emotional behavior health and learning. So he takes the behavior health specialists from Ed Clapp and from Jefferson Elementary School, and they kind of become the counselors for the camp and work with the same kids that are in their school all year. That way, when the summer is over and they fall back into school, they're able to reconnect with the behavior health specialists and continue the progress and goals they worked on all summer long. Also through that, Officer Niemeyer partnered with TNT Gymnastics, and TNT was huge and wonderful, and they just led our kids through an amazing program all summer for activities and being active and healthy. And Officer Niemeyer also worked out something with Fargo Park District, and our kids were swimming all summer. And it was funny, something we learned that a lot of our kids don't know how to swim very well. So we had boys out there in life jackets, barely knowing how to dog paddle, and I'll touch on what we're doing with that as well. Officer Vince Kemp does a wonderful job at the New American Police Orientation for parents. The big gap he has been seeing is a lot of New American youth are learning English much faster and efficiently than parents. Therefore, there has become some pretty strong conflicts in the home with kids manipulating parents just because of the language barrier. And so Officer Kemp has done a fantastic job meeting with families, meeting with parents, and connecting them with English language learning, I believe workshops through Woodrow or known as Agassiz School, and also through Lutheran Social Services and other programs in the community. We do a ton of stops at DBGR, which is Dakota Boys and Girls Ranch, Luther Hall, and we just try to really eat lunch with kids at these places and love on them and encourage them. We work a lot with a hip-hop group called DPB, and every time they're in town, we usually do a live rap performance at Luther Hall. And this year, we're going into Dakota Boys and Girls Ranch in November, and we're going to do a live rap kind of show there because kids just like to move, dance, and have fun. So we like to break the ice and connect with them on those levels. And then Fargo United, these events promote unity between cultures to build relationships. So Fargo United is a large party in the park where we bring a stage in. We get a lot of noise complaints, unfortunately, and we host live rap music, free giveaways. This last year, we had pie eating contests between police and kids eating pies for Bluetooth speakers and stuff like that. So kids were coming up and engaging with police officers, which is what we wanted to see happen. I'll get up there and do a little shindig rap just to connect with kids. I'm no amazing rapper or anything, but it's just to connect with kids and bridge that gap. And we've made now 2 music videos kind of as a part of Fargo United. One came out last year, and we're promoting a new music video October 29th at First Assembly Church, which you're all invited to. We're going to have free food, and it'd be nice to see your wonderful faces again. So here's a couple pictures from our Fargo summer camp that Officer Niemeyer really pioneered. That's just the youth at TNT Gymnastics doing the climbing wall and hanging out at Fargo South with the counselors. There's kind of some community engagement we're doing. What you see on the left, Officer Dave Carlson is the one in the yellow right there, a.k.a. his nickname is the Honey Badger because he's just an animal. That dude is just fierce. And he put together a soccer game, an organized soccer game at Dakota Boys and Girls Ranch. And he did such a fabulous job partnering with that organization. And we had about 15 kids probably playing with us and participating and bonding with about 6 officers. The young lady in the blue is a police officer. That's myself and then Dave. And then we had Officer Shem Baker out there as well. And I believe it was 2 other police officers. So, I mean, it's just a really positive program for those kids because they're going through a lot. And on the right, that's just a picture of Officer Carlson's in the back there along with some patrol staff. We were just partnering with United Way on a campaign because a lot of what we want to do is promote the community, not the police department. The police department is not going to be strong if it just promotes itself, and we're being serious. It's not some fake message, but we can partner with nonprofits, and we can partner with the school system, and everyone's getting better. The police department is better, and the youth that we're trying to serve are better. So that's what we like to do, and United Way is a powerhouse, and they're just amazing. They have like great staff there. So we really like working with United Way. Here's some programs we're planning to add going forward. In June, the swimming lessons. I misunderstood the story there at first. Basically, the first 2 stories there are the unfortunate events of the 2 drownings that occurred this year. One was in Minnesota and one was in West Fargo. And so we came together and collaborated about possibly starting a swim program for new American youth. Also maybe youth who just might be on free and reduced lunch or low income that maybe couldn't afford swim lessons. We just really saw it as valuable. We also learned that Fargo Park District was really thinking about this hard. We learned that the schools were. And so we actually first spoke with Concordia Aquatics and began to talk with them. And we're looking to launch a group of swim lessons this winter through Concordia. And we received a wonderful donation of a map bus kind of style van bus that we're going to be able to transport kids to these swim lessons in. And Concordia is partnering with us on that to teach a group of kids. Because like I said, in Officer Niemeyer's summer camp, it was pretty bad. Some kids had no basics of swimming. So the moment their face really began to go under, even if it's a couple feet of water, they don't really know how to get out. And that was a very eye-opening experience for us that shouldn't be an issue for youth in our city. We should take care of that. We should make it our problem, and that's what we're trying to be proactive at doing. But I just want to say on this point right here, Fargo Parks has taken an active part, and I know a lot of other groups are being very proactive in this as well. This is not just a Fargo Police thing. There's Officer Niemeyer hanging with some of his awesome camp kids. There's just a photo. As you can see, one of the boys has his life jacket on, swimming, and that's his counselor and some of the kids he works with. So more programs we're doing in the future. Officer Dave Carlson and Vince Kempf are working on a youth dog training academy kind of class. This thing's going to be amazing, I think, because they're going to work with a local group. They're going to bring kids in, mentor them, and teach them how to train these dogs over a year's period, I believe. When it's done, the kids will receive a certification and can actually go into the community and train dogs for over $20 an hour. And so it can almost teach a kid how to be an entrepreneur. It can teach a kid responsibility and discipline. And so we're really excited for that. Officer Carlson also wants to start an outdoor program for youth who have never experienced fishing, camping, hiking, etc. So he wants to do basically kind of a workshop with kids, teaching them all the great outdoors experiences. And he's talked about a wonderful group in our community called River Keepers, I believe it was, that he's looking at possibly talking with. Again, we're just trying to build relationships, not rebuilding a brand. We're just trying to connect kids in any way we can. We're going to keep plugging kids into athletic scholarships and programs. My dream goal, the hip-hop program for youth, man, I want a little room the size of a closet with a sweet microphone in there, and then outside of it, a keyboard, guitar, violin, you name it, and bring kids in after school who don't do normal programs, and we can start mixing music together after school. They could build their own mixtapes, start sending them out over social media, but that way we're and the kids I'm just being real that I want to target are the kids that would either go home and play video games, go home and probably smoke, or do something of that nature to just chill and not really be proactive or productive. Just start building a brand with them on positivity, and this will open up a door to bring community members in that like music to mentor them. And then we're talking about a youth mentorship program through technical schools and trainings where we're hopefully wanting to partner with like Rasmussen College, maybe MSCTC. That's a goal in the future, to teach kids trades, culinary arts, and different things like that, to say, hey, man, if college isn't for you for 6 years or 4 years, what if you went for 2 and you became a diesel mechanic and made a decent wage, or a welder? And so that's what we hope to show. And something I really want to tap into is the BNSF Railroad. I think that's, man, just a well of potential for a lot of kids to jump on that. And then last but not least, art classes for youth. Christina Jagger with, is it Dakota Creative Plains Foundation. She's become a wonderful partner of ours, friend of ours, and she has such a passion for the youth we want to reach, and she brings this art expertise that we don't have, and so we're really enjoying our partnership with her and her organization. And then some diversion programs we're thinking about implementing in the future is partnering with the juvenile court system, and then working with kids directly as a level of or plugging them into programs of diversion to take away criminal charges so they're off their record, also while working with a police officer or a mentor to build a relationship with those youth. And that is my presentation, because I know everyone loves 2-hour PowerPoints. I had a 2-hour PowerPoint, but I wanted to make you all angry and go short. So.
Great.
Yeah, but I'll leave it open for questions. And after that, I have to run, but I can stay here as long as you want and answer questions. But we're doing a new video premiere, and I'm super excited about it, but I have to go out and promote the heck out of it, because we're like the only ones who do it. There's no one else to do it for us, so we just have to go do that. But any questions I would love to answer, or even just talk about collaboration.
Great. Well, I wish you'd show just a little more enthusiasm for your job, but thank you. It's great to see that kind of, and redefining really police department relationships in the community. That appears what you are doing very effectively. Paul, you had a question?
Yeah, well, thank you again for this wonderful presentation. Very pleased there's so many initiatives going on.
Yeah.
One thing that I would like to ask you about is what about the kids' social responsibility and integration and their understanding their role in our community? What do you do on that? Because I see a lot of programs focused at entertaining the kids or making them do fun stuff.
Yeah.
And I know that is important.
Yeah.
But somewhere in there needs to be also an element of social responsibility to our community, to our country, to our the functionality of our community. How does it actually work? What is my role in the community?
Yeah.
What can I do to become a contributing citizen?
Yeah.
That part of it, what do you do there?
That was actually a really, really good question. I'll answer that in 2 parts briefly here.
Thank you.
One was, we were talking about those future programs, and that would be like the partnerships with the MSCTC, partnerships with like Rasmussen College, the tech schools, really trying to show youth a future, what it looks like to pay your bills, what it looks like to own an apartment, and what it would cost every month to also have a vehicle and vehicle insurance, and little things like updating your tabs, updating your insurance, and all those expenses.
Yeah.
It's so unique. I wouldn't say we're still in the beginning phases. We've been doing this for 3 years, and an uphill battle is, unless you're like, so I was a big brother for one of the youth we worked with through the Big Brother Big Sister program. That allowed consistency. An issue we do run into, and that's what makes Officer Niemeyer's summer camp so effective, is a lot of these kids will see 3 times a month. A lot of these kids will see all summer. A lot of these kids will see once every week. It's the kids that we don't see once a week or more. It's reiterating, because a lot of them, they're so used to the messages that they are living by that when we met them. And so I think looking at that broadly, we need to look at ways to improve that, and also have more community collaboration on ways to work with kids on a more consistent basis to really instruct those kind of things.
What age groups are you talking about?
You pull the microphone up.
Yeah, sure. So what age groups are you dividing them into when you do this? I don't know the acronym you were talking about before. Or,
CTO?
no,
or
MM something with the Rasmussen College.
MSCTC.
MSECT.
Oh, MSCTC. That's just the tech school off I-94 in Moorhead. We were
Okay.
talking about partnering with possibly.
Yeah, that's presumably for those who are like 14, 15, 16 years old, right?
Yes, sir.
What about all the young kids that we saw up there?
So
What time do you start helping them understand their position, their roles?
yeah, right now I would say to answer it like in a way that's right to say a lot of the kids we target and really seek to help are the kids who need the most help.
Yeah.
And some of them, we get to a place where we have room to start teaching these things. Some of them, we're really just trying to teach them to stay out of juvie, unfortunately, or we're trying to teach them to stay in a classroom the whole day. We're trying to teach them to finish their school, their grades, to not get caught stealing from the mall again, working on very fundamental life skills. So if we could have more time, I would say it would be at that young age, but a lot of it is we're starting with a group of youth at times that have good parents, have good people in their lives, but there's just something like a disconnect going on sometimes. And so I think certain kids it's easier to teach, and certain kids for 2 straight years we teach them the same thing, hoping they eventually pick it up.
Can I ask a follow-up question, if you don't mind?
Sure. This will probably have to be our last question, but go ahead.
All right. Okay, because I know, that's as a parent and also someone who came here to the community without being very much connected, so it took me a long time.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see a program like that because I think I would have encouraged my own kids or my friends' kids to be proactive and maybe join and before getting in trouble. But I also know that most of the time when we ask questions, we have some ideas of some something that could be done or added. And knowing that Paul lived in different countries, I'm wondering if you would have models or activities that you could suggest to Officer Bloom and the police department to consider to enhance the program when you ask that question of social responsibility.
Definitely. I got some ideas that I'd like to discuss with you later on, but I can't say that you can transfer models from another country directly in here.
Mm-hmm.
We're unique in many ways because of the composition. Well, the whole composition of our population makes a difference. And if you go to a homogeneous country where everybody has been the same nationality for thousands of years, right?
Right.
So we can certainly talk about that. I'm willing to take such a discussion with you.
That'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
Because it's really us looking to partner with the community to make the community better. And that's why we reach out to so many, like we work with YouthWorks quite a bit, Boys and Girls Club of Fargo, Charism, and then we work with the Fargo Public School District, Jefferson Elementary School, at Clapp Elementary School. That's what helps us begin to gain ground with kids, to start teaching them what you're talking about. It's partnerships. So I would love to hear any of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, for example, the Boys and Girl Scouts.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in those organizations, there are lots of different things that kids can do to understand themselves better and to be part of a community and engage with the community and doing service programs, blah, blah, blah.
Yes, I agree.
So stuff like that I was thinking at for kids that are the age of 5 or 6 or 7. I mean, we're not talking about demanding things here.
Sure.
We're talking about very simple, small things to begin with. But it gives them a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
And I think you have that experience also. Many of the kids really don't know where they belong.
I would say majority of the ones we're trying to reach. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. They'll put their hand in any pot.
Yeah.
And they'll try everything.
Yeah.
To just connect to something.
But we need to understand them. And I know it's a difficult job. And I must say that I'm really pleased that you guys do this. It's very, very nice.
That's great. Mature, I think you had a question too. I'm going to.
No, I just wanted to ask how can we contact you? I work with the Youth Bank. Youth Bank is like we pick about 20 youths from different communities, especially the New American.
Yeah.
And we had them sit down and have discussion by themselves and see what's come out there and what's going on around them in the communities. And I think it would be nice to get them connect with you guys as well.
That'd be wonderful.
You have your contacts, and then we'll be fine.
Well, if you guys do just want to write down my email, I could just give you my email address. It's M as in Mary, and then Bloom, BLOOM, fargond.gov. And so feel free to just email me that. I have a stack of cards on my desk, and I forgot to re-put them in my pocket. I just realized. I was like, darn it, I don't have my cards. But just reach out anytime. And well, like I said, we're all about partnerships and connections. And it's Mature, correct?
Yes.
See, I didn't even know about the youth bank. And so that's a wonderful resource just to learn about, because we may meet a kid that could work well in your program. Instead of you sending a kid to ours, we could say, hey, you're doing well, or this is what you're doing good. This program could be excellent for you. You know, that's what we see if you're familiar with Legacy Children's Foundation. I mean, have you ever heard of that program?
Yeah, I've been part of that too.
Yeah, it's a home run program, man. I mean, Mary Jean,
Jean.
she's amazing. So,
Cheers.
yeah.
I feel like we just scratched the surface, but I really appreciate you did a great job presenting a lot of information in a very short time. So thank you very much, Michael, and for standing in on short notice.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Seriously, it's an honor to be here with you guys. Like, I know Commissioner Strand, he's got a big heart. He's always out working, and the planning team, and it's fun. It's fun, like, coming here and seeing you guys and just talking to you and sharing what we're doing. So
We'd like to invite you back again.
cool. We'd love to come
And
back.
work together with you in the meantime.
Okay,
Thanks
sounds
for
good.
giving your contact information.
Yeah, and please reach out, for real. I'm very mean, as you could tell, so just reach out.
All right.
Okay,
Thank you so
gentlemen.
much.
Thank you all.
Yep.
Thank you.
Wow. All right. We've got a fairly full agenda here, so I'm going to just move us into the next piece. And that was that the strategic planning update. One of the things we talked about orientation was to have strategic planning with the Fargo Human Relations Commission. And I know some steps have been defined by staff as a result of our executive committee meeting. It looks like Kara, you put down the RFP. Do you want to just do an update as far as where we're at? I'll introduce it. One would be is that we talked about that we felt it would be important to schedule this relatively soon. We secondly wanted to have an outside facilitator, to have a professional facilitator help us walk through the strategic planning. So I think this is what precipitated the RFP. So maybe that would be the lead-in to, you want to just highlight the RFP process and where we're at?
Well, we have written the RFP, and we intend to send it to 4 parties that were suggested in the executive meeting. That included Reach Partners, Amy Phillips, Andrea Holhalter, and then the North Dakota Human Rights Coalition. Is there anybody else that the commission as a whole would be interested in sending this RFP to?
Jeff Schatz. He's become a consultant out there in the community, and he's another option for facilitating, potentially, former superintendent.
And so this RFP will go out, it could go out as soon as tomorrow or next week, depending on, if you guys want to add to it, to who it goes out to. But we were thinking 2 months out from now, having that first strategic planning meeting in December, probably be 2 meetings, maybe 3 meetings total.
And how many people are you sending this proposal, request for proposal to again?
5 now with John's.
Could you read them the names again, please?
Yep, it's Reach Partners, Amy Phillips, Andrea Holhalter, the North Dakota Human Rights Coalition, and then Jeff Schatz.
Dr. Schatz. And Leanne Wolf.
Great.
And I didn't bring a copy of the RFP, but maybe oh, is it in the packet? Oh, perfect. That's handy. So yeah, maybe you would take a minute here to take a look at that and see if there's anything you would want to include or take out of it, or just comment on it.
And I'm not sure we'll have time to read it over, but we do have maybe by close of day tomorrow, if you have a chance to look at it and let Tia know any recommendations you would make to it. I think the important things we talked about with the executive committee is that we want this to be very meaningful. There's going to be some resources committed, not just our time, but the resources of the facilitator. So we want to make sure that what comes out of it is a product that will drive our efforts going forward. So I think part of the thing was looking at people's, the facilitators looking at not just what happens when they meet with us, but the kind of work they do ahead of time, so they understand what we want and who we are. So I haven't had a chance to look at it myself, but I'm sure it's good.
Yeah,
But
that's,
should we ask that, close the day tomorrow? Any comments about the RFP, get them into Tia? Otherwise, you would then move forward with setting them out.
right. Yeah, that's good. I'll intend to send it out on Monday then.
Great.
Do you have dates? December is like a horrible month.
That's flexible. We could move it.
I
in
mean,
January.
just
Yeah.
strategically, it becomes a nightmare with the amount of things that I already have on my calendar, and then then I'm hearing 2 to 3 other things, and I'm going, there's not enough wine in a bottle. for
How
me
about
to
January
do
10th?
That will not be good, John.
That's not a good day?
That's not a good day.
No,
So-
it's flexible.
No, what I'm saying is, I just need, when we're planning, and I know Letitia and almost everybody here, the sooner you nail down dates with us, the better your attendance will be. If I don't get notice soon, that just becomes problematic.
Just to clarify, we're only talking about having one meeting in December.
Okay.
So just like the first one, I mean, I hear what you're saying.
But even
Everything
soon, as soon as you can pick that date, I've already got multiple
Mhm.
events and committee meetings I mean, that's just myself, and it's not all about me, but the sooner I know those dates, I can block out the time for you,
Yeah,
for us.
fair.
So,
Yeah, and I think once we get the proposals back from the people that we'll be sending it out to find out what their schedules look like, maybe December is not even a realistic
yeah.
month, but yeah, we can start talking about specific days as soon as we hear back from them.
Great. We're on an aggressive timeline here, so I recognize that,
Yeah,
but
that's aggressive.
we'll try to keep that in mind. Any other questions on strategic planning, other than the fact that we are intent to move ahead with that? And then we'll move on to the next item, Winnipeg field trip. That was an item that was brought up at our staff orientation when we were kind of dreaming ahead, and seemed like something that was very doable, something that Letitia mentioned to us. And so we talked again a bit about that, getting that on the horizon or radar, looked at arranging transportation, maybe making it somewhat coordinated so that we could actually, I mean, the highlight would be to go to the Human Rights Museum in Winnipeg, but thinking that we could, if we did some pre-planning, we could perhaps meet with some officials from human rights organizations in Canada, and so make it more of a planned trip. I can't remember, we talked a timeline on this too, didn't we? Looking ahead, somewhere in 2019, perhaps spring of. But I think we were looking into arranging some sort of transportation so we could travel as a group. Was there any other detail we talked about? But just keep it in mind that this is something we thought was a great idea to move ahead on.
Can I just, I'm glad that it's on the agenda, because I put it out sort of dreaming, but I've always really thought that this group could benefit from going to the Museum of Human Rights. And it ties so well together with what we do, and it would also be a nice activity for the team to do together. But I like the idea of trying to make it more intentional and trying to connect with officials in Canada. And I never thought about it, but so maybe I can do some digging around.
Yes, please.
And the goal would ideally would be to go before the end of January, and I can find a date, because that's they have a traveling exhibit of Nelson Mandela, and it's impressive. So that's why, and I can maybe, it can be on me, this one, and I can maybe either email or report before the next meeting, because that would be.
Yeah, that's coming up
Yeah.
quickly too.
Yeah.
Kara, did you have a comment?
Well, we just talked about waiting, waiting until spring, just for the logistics of traveling in a bus in the winter to Winnipeg. But, you know, whatever we think is fine. I just wanted to, that's what the executive committee talked about, waiting until spring.
Well, how long is the exhibition now going on for
It's-
Nelson Mandela?
It's until like closer to the end of January. But I truly think that it's
Yeah,
worth like rethinking that, because it's very, yeah, it's unique, it's impressive, it's yeah. And I know that we talked about possibly me putting together a proposal and getting this maybe funded by the city. But I also thought that if to avoid the bureaucracy, that maybe we could pull together resources as a team and take a few cars if we don't
Yeah.
take a bus, or even chip in money, and then we are on our own in terms of you know, accommodation and food. We can, I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't mind
I'm okay with driving.
driving. I would drive
Absolutely,
too.
No
I,
problem.
I think the idea was that there's great conversation that occurs in
the
the
bus.
vehicle.
Yeah.
So that was one thought, is that if we were able to arrange a bus where we could all be together as
Okay.
we're driving up and back. So, I mean, I guess those are a variety. I do want to take you up, though, if you do have contacts in Winnipeg that have both, I'm sure, with the museum, but then I'm also thinking the Canada is so far ahead with us in terms of developing human rights organizations within the community, so some
Yes.
contact there as well.
Um,
I bet you Smita would know, too.
Would you like me to find out how much it would cost to rent a bus before we decide to put in a proposal and wait for the city to decide? Yes.
We already
have
have
I
that.
it.
already have that.
Um,
That's in there.
All right, I guess
Already there.
next time I will read my packet before commenting. Thank you.
All right. Any more questions or updates on that? So we have two things that we are pursuing aggressively.
I might just want to add one thing. This exhibit on Nelson Mandela is incredibly important to have an opportunity to see. It's shaped Africa for ever since 1990, I think it was, 91. And missing that opportunity would be sad, you know, so I wouldn't want to go later than January, that's for sure.
All right. Duly noted. I'm going to move us into, yes,
I just looked up the date. It ends January 6th.
6th?
6th? Okay.
Yeah.
I want to go in December.
Well, and I guess
Christmas
if
shopping.
we don't get this arranged as a group, I would certainly encourage individuals, myself included, to go on their own
I
to
hope we
to visit
can.
it as well.
I hope we can go in a group.
Yeah. All right, thanks for that information. That changes the nature of it.
And Leticia, if you, when you're researching who we might connect with, I did do a little bit of research myself on this page. There, Manitoba does have a Human Rights Commission.
Yeah.
So if you want to contact them.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to move us into item number 6, which is meeting attendance procedures. And thank you again, staff, for developing this quickly after executive committee. I think it's just a reminder. Obviously, we have quorum here today, so it's a great time to build off a base of strength. That I think what drew our attention was that quickly in our year of meeting, we were unable to meet last month because we knew we weren't going to have quorum. So I think this just lays out so that all of us, we talk about attendance being really important for us as commissioners, and if not attendance, we know that not everybody can make every meeting every month, but then the communication becomes a really important aspect so that we can plan. So again, this is probably your first glance at looking at something like this. So if you would be willing to look this over as well within a short time, maybe not take time at this point, we could confirm it. I don't think there's anything, any deal breakers that are being presented in here. right? Or is there anything you'd want to highlight on the attendance procedures?
No, I'm just wondering, are you looking for an action on this item?
I guess
Or-
it would be helpful to have that, this would be, but I want to make sure people have had a chance to really read it as well, so.
Okay. So
Which-
we'll maybe put it on the next agenda, or do we want to read through it right now?
I have a question, Barry.
Yeah.
Is this procedure, is this part of our bylaws? Is this in the bylaws?
We don't have bylaws.
I thought we approved bylaws.
No, with the discussion with the mayor, there are no bylaws.
So this would not have policy standing, it would basically just be an agreement of how do we want to function as a commission, per se.
Right, and maybe incorporate it into future bylaws.
Yeah. Would you want to take a moment to look at it right now? It does,
Well, I think the key thing there that is really a policy statement is in the last bullet point. Because everything else is like courtesy. The last bullet point is what is a bylaw. Or something that calls for a removal or a possible removal of a commission member. So when you have an unexcused absence. 3 or more, Rachel. Just joking.
Like, I don't think I've ever been.
Yeah, but that's the thing that is the key to any of that other part there.
Yeah, and I think that would be kind of like the guiding principle, because ultimately it would be up to the mayor to
Right.
do whatever he finds appropriate for any particular circumstance.
and I think I understand your point, Dave. I think the point here is, the worst thing I think we could do to any of ourselves is to surprise us. So if we suddenly say, hey, we're having a problem with attendance, and then discuss at that point, then it feels like it's being retribution and doing it after the fact. Whereas if we can project this ahead of time, it should be no surprise. We'd all know if somebody, for whatever reason, is unable to meet. And it's not even being here, it's giving advance notice. So there's an out where people could make the call or email saying, I won't be able to make the meeting.
So is this a recommendation from the executive committee, this policy from the executive committee?
Yeah, with input from staff.
Okay, well, then I move we approve it. I don't think we need to keep stringing it along.
Yep.
Okay, there's a motion to approve the operating procedures for attendance.
I will second.
Rachel seconds it. Is there further discussion on this?
As a long-term member of the board, I just feel it's really good to have something in writing that we hand out to everybody, and that's just a guideline. I mean, it's a guideline, and if you're going to miss, be courteous. Let somebody know. I think that's the most important thing, so that's why I think that's the biggest frustration as a chairperson, is to do all the work and then, have 4. That's a real problem.
And to be
So-
surprised by having 4. That's the main
Yeah.
thing.
Right.
Any other questions, comments? If not, I'll call it for a vote. All those in favor of this motion to approve the attendance procedures indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. All right, then we can move on to our next item, which I've lost my agenda.
It's a funding request.
Okay, yes, we have a funding request, a sponsorship application for the North Dakota Human Rights Coalition,
Submit.
qualifier. I'm an organizer with that organization, so I would just let the larger group discuss the
Was this
request.
part of the pre-approved budget?
Do we have a copy of the budget?
Mhm.
I don't
Yeah.
have a copy of the budget. We give to it every year.
I think there's one. does not appear on the list.
No, what we do for this is we have never sponsored. We have paid for commissioners to attend. We've never sponsored. Very.
It was listed as a sponsorship last year.
I think what we did last year.
Did we do
Yeah,
last?
it was an after, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was closer to
So I think there might be some confusion. So we did this year in reoccurring sponsorships, put $500 towards the Human Rights Film Fest. But we did not we did not do a summit sponsorship.
So are we doing as we have before, where they will pay for the commissioners to attend?
Yeah. I mean, I think that, well, did we have it as a sponsorship last year that way?
We've done that almost every year.
We've always had commissioners who want to attend the summit. We have paid their way in the past. But I don't, do you have last year's? I don't have last year's, but I don't remember being a sponsor. I just don't.
I just know that last year, the summit was paid for by sponsors, and Fargo Human Relations was listed as a sponsor. So I guess the Human
Then they
Rights
must have
Coalition
done it.
accepted it as a sponsorship.
I think there was an additional sponsorship after the ticket.
Doesn't matter. We're being asked to
Yeah.
sponsor this year. So
Okay.
we have a decision to make.
So the request is before us, $250 for the North Dakota Human Rights Coalition, which is coming up on November 17th.
And this falls within the whole weekend of the Human Rights Film Festival, where this group is kind of co-sponsoring that event with that. So it's like a big human rights weekend.
$250 is within the amount that we have allocated to other groups. So I will move the motion to approve this request.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve
Thank
this.
you, Leticia.
Second.
Cheryl, seconds? All right. Any further discussion on this request? If not, all those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
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 Uh, Same sign, against? All right. All right. Next item, budget process review. And yes, I do have a copy of our current budget and some information for the future. This, we added to this just because we often, by the time that we as a commission talk about maybe having any kind of input toward budgeting process, it's way too late. The city process occurs much further in advance than what we might be thinking of when we look at the new year. So I think this was just to kind of review that process. And I don't know if were you going to talk at all about that? Or was that going to be Nicole?
Yeah, I can't speak to that one yet because I'm so new and I haven't been involved in this a lot yet. But I'm wondering if we should just table that item until the next meeting,
Sure.
just so that we can have a more thorough discussion. And we're approaching 1 o'clock here pretty soon.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody, it's okay that we defer this? We don't have any timelines bearing down on us right now. It's just that we understand how this process works, correct? Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I understand it.
Okay. Excellent. All right, then the next item in terms of the summit summary, that could be very brief as well. There was calling it Historical LGBTQ Summit that was held in Mandan the October 5th through the 7th. it was successful on many regards. One was that the goal was to have 60 attend. We had 80 show up that weekend. Secondly, the goal was to have diversity. This was statewide, so looking for people from around the state, and we did have great diversity geographically from all corners of the state. The third emphasis was that it would be intersectional in the sense of looking at not only sexuality or sexual orientation, but also culture. And we had a great Two-Spirit theme that went through the conference and made some great connections with Two-Spirit people from within the state and elsewhere. And then there was an emphasis on educating ourselves on the transgender community. So we had a fantastic panel present on that Sunday morning. So the reflection at the end is, what can we be doing now? And that was both political organizing so that we can change policy. And then the question was, when are we going to hold the second annual LGBTQ State Summit? So feedback was very positive.
Do we have a date for the next year's summit yet?
No.
Okay.
That was that conversation, whether this was a good time of the year or not. So it would probably be in the fall at some point in 2019.
And where was this summit held?
It was in Mandan. Yeah.
Is it going to be always in Bismarck, or is it going to be?
I don't think that would be
Bismarck,
conclusion
right?
that whether or not it would revolve. The goal was to keep it central so that it wasn't undue travel for anybody from around the state. All the sessions were recorded, so if there would be any interest in any of the breakout sessions or the facility conversation, talk to me about that. We did make sure that participants were okay with being filmed, and if anybody wanted to not be filmed, that they could be omitted from that part, but we didn't have any problems with that. All right. Staff reports. Any staff reports?
I don't have any staff updates right now.
All right.
Oh, actually, our social service fund application will be going out either tomorrow or on Monday. It's typically the community development fund, that's community development block grant and social service fund application. It's now been separated into two, so we will be sending that to you guys so that you have a web link and you can share it with whomever that might want to apply for those funds.
I also would like to note that we have not got a ton of MLK award applications. So if you can, I posted it on the Human Relations Commission's Facebook. So if you can send that out to your networks.
What's the deadline on that?
Well, we pushed it back to October 30th.
Okay.
I think we have like 5 adults
And we're lacking youth and
Groups.
and an organization. Yep.
so the emphasis would be find a youth and a group.
Yes.
5 adults is really a good, is plenty
Mhm.
to choose from.
All right. Anything further on that? I know that planning is coming along on that. We have no, unless there's some hiding public, we don't seem to have any public for comment here. John?
I wish Amita was here. I understand she's become a citizen recently. So
Yes.
let's remember to congratulate her when we see her next. That's just terrific.
Thank you for that personal note. Anything else for the good of the group?
So I shouldn't be asking this question as the chair of the MLK Planning Committee, but I missed the meeting last week. I was in a conference in Bismarck. Is there any, and Rachel was gracious to chair the meeting. Is there any update that would be?
I think just getting the nominations, because that was extended to make sure that we get nominations for the youth in the organization. So that's really the focus, and we'll be meeting again on November 5th. And so technically the deadline is October 30th, but I think if you get it in before November 5th, it will still have a chance to be reviewed.
There's a side conversation going on.
Actually, well, then October 30th, because we can send those out before. Perfect, okay.
Thank you. Anything else? If not, consider the Human Relations Commission meeting adjourned. Thank you.